Hey everybody, Chris here. Is Dogecoin going to go up or down from here? We're going to talk about that in this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit that little notification bell too. You can be notified when my videos come out, as well as when I do live streams. And on the Monday live stream, we talked about the 4-year cycles again, this time in more detail. I spent the first half hour kind of going through how Bitcoin looked last cycle and how the bear market in 2022 is very similar to what is happening now here in 2026. And we went even further back, showed the patterns, showed the repetition, and then talked about Dogecoin in its own kind of 4-year cycle front-running Bitcoin. So do check that out if you want to know more about 4-year cycles and what I believe in them. And at the end of this video, we'll take another little look at something that I should have shown yesterday, but I will show it today in this video. Meanwhile, we do have still weakness in the market. We're looking at a downward trend line, so let's get into it. Let me show you the charts in the news. I'll show you what I'm looking at. And we start here with the current Dogecoin chart at 9.3 cents. That's right, 9.3. And this is this downward sloping resistance line that I have been tracking since Friday. We had that V-shape trading and Doge coming all the way down to 8 cents here on February 5th on that big dip, kind of the second black swan, kind of a mini black swan that we had on February 5th. And that is the target point, again, 8 cents, to see if the weakness in Dogecoin continues and we see another big drop. Will Dogecoin be challenging that 8-cent mark? Now, we have the same thing on Bitcoin. Bitcoin had its own V-shape, came all the way down to 60K. Now also following its own downward trending resistance line. And if there's a big drop in Bitcoin again, will it drop below that 60,000 line? That is how the charts are setting up now. And if we zoom out from the hourly chart out to the weekly chart, this is the other point, reference point, that we're looking at. And this blue line here is the 200-week moving average. It's sitting right now at 58K. So it's right below that $60,000 drop. If we see Bitcoin drop below the 200-week moving average, that is the target. We'd be looking at 54K down to 50K and some even predicting 40s. And of course, there's always lower. But right now we're looking, will Bitcoin challenge that 200-week moving average as resistance, or as support, and we bounce off that and come up higher? Or was that February 5th drop the bottom? That is what is being talked about right now. We're looking at 4 consecutive weeks in a row of red candles for Bitcoin, which is pulling the entire crypto market down. We do look at patterns, and this is what I was looking at on the live stream on Monday, that we did have a bit of a relief rally followed by a down, up, down pattern. And if we have that second down pattern again, that will be the capitulation. And back in 2022, it was all about Luna, Celsius, Voyager, and then eventually FTX. But those were the narratives that drove the price down. What would that be in 2026? There's a lot of guesses out there of what could come. We have an FTX. Speaking of FTX, we have some news today on Sam Bankman-Fried, which is just bizarre. But then this is what I talked about in the live stream. We have the drop of Bitcoin down to 60K. Didn't quite hit the 200-week moving average. We could have a relief rally up. This 76,000 line in orange here, this is the MicroStrategy line. This is their average cost of all of the Bitcoin they have bought for 6 years. Their average cost is 76 and the price right now is 68. So they are still $5-6 billion in the red on all of the Bitcoin they bought. But this could be another relief rally that we have and then drop into the summer. And that would be the summer of 2026, which I call the big accumulation period. And we will see whether that plays out. Dogecoin, again, not a great chart for Doge as well. And we look on the weekly chart and we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red weekly candles in a row now. And that is the weakness we are looking at. Well, let's get into the news here first. Are we going to have another government shutdown this week? It looks like it. The U.S. government, by the end of the week, a 75% chance now on Polymarket, with the Polymarket bettors saying, yeah, looks like there's going to be another shutdown. This is probably all about the DHS and funding for ICE and all of that stuff that the markets don't like that. They don't like that uncertainty. So that's coming up. And now we've got this breaking news. Sam Bankman-Fried says FTX was never bankrupt. The lawyers filed for bankruptcy without his approval. Interesting. I thought he was in jail. How can he be making statements? He was in jail. But I remember from back in 2022, after the so-called bankruptcy, and Sam Bankman-Fried was going on this sort of media blitz, doing all of these interviews, and I remember him saying something like this, that the lawyers were involved, and one of the lawyers was from like the Enron days back in the 1990s or whatever that was. So I get what he says. It's like the lawyers took over, and they took all the money. Because that's what those big corporate attorneys do. So, but he's back, I guess, in the news, even though he's in jail. Kind of interesting. But again, it goes back to 2022 again, and here we are 4 years later, and we're in a bear market, and this stuff is coming out. Bitcoin Census says, look, Bitcoin has already broken down from a major support neckline. Next level of support comes at 55K, according to this simple line chart. And so, again, a lot of technical analysis guys trying to figure out like this line and that line and support and resistance and all of that. I mean, there's a lot to it. We see where the trading was before and how that breakdown could continue down to that level, regardless of the 200-week moving average. It could go lower, and that could be the line. So we could be seeing that 55, 54K. And Crypto Rover, again, just looking at patterns from 2022, we see the double high of 2021 with the big dip, followed by the early 2022 dip, relief rally, and lower. And here we are again. We could be seeing a similar thing playing out here in 2026. And here's another view from Washagoria, looking at the accumulation zone for Bitcoin, similar to what we had in 2014, 2018, 2022. And here we are in 2026. Again, 4-year cycles. ETH got rejected from 2,100 resistance zone. Now the key level to hold is 2,000. And if Ethereum loses it, expect a sweep of last week's low. Expect a sweep of last week's low. That was February 5th. And that is Bitcoin at 60K, Dogecoin at 8 cents. And if we take a look at Ethereum, Ethereum did dip down to about 1750 on ETH. So that doesn't look good for the alts if we do that. So if we fail to bounce off that support for ETH and move lower, there's going to be a larger sweep going on across crypto. Dogecoin Fear and Greed Index right now is at 21, still extreme fear. Wasn't too long ago when we came up to neutral, then back to fear, and now back in the extreme fear range. So Dogecoin. Doge faces sustained pressure as bears retain short-term control. And we see that 6 weeks in a row of red candles is bear. I think there's still some people that don't want to realize that we're in a bear market. We've been in a bear market, as I've been talking about. So Doge remains under selling pressure, trading below all major EMAs. That's right, we go back to the Doge chart here on the weekly. And here's the 200-week moving average for Doge. It's up here at 13.5 cents. That is where I believe we would see a relief rally up to 13.5 cents. So that would become resistance now instead of support. Short-term rebounds lack follow-through, highlighting fading bullish conviction near resistance. Derivatives and spot flows show weak trader conviction, signaling cautious market sentiment. So that is what's happening in the market. We look at, is the bottom really in? So are we going to go up or down from here? That's the question. We have this divergence of thoughts. as we're still trading around 9.5 cents. What is happening ahead? Sellers dominate the market, 5.4 billion in selling volume versus 2.8 billion in buying volume over 11 consecutive days. You get more sellers than buyers, then the price goes down. We've got one analyst believing Doge has touched the bottom of its long ascending channel, could rebound to 30 cents based on historical cycles. That's a different view of the historical cycle than I see, particularly at this point in time. I think there are better days ahead for Doge, but they're further down the road. Another analyst argues capitulation hasn't occurred yet, and that's our friend Vision Pulsed, and we'll take a look at him and what he says. So overall, we can go through the chart. We can look at these upward sloping trend lines, and CW says we're at the bottom and we're just going to bounce right off. Now, way zoomed out, and you look at this, there's nothing that says that that is a point of reference. It could just bleed out sideways, which I think is what is going to happen, not just bounce off and the uptrend is about to begin. I think the 4-year cycles are stronger than this trend line. Meanwhile, here we have 11 straight days of more red candles sell volume than green candles buy volume. So the sellers do dominate. And we have Vision Pulse. He's looking at the market hasn't reached true capitulation yet. But here we have Vision Pulse pointing to continued bullishness on social media. But he says people are still expressing bullish views, but the market hasn't declined enough. He says capitulation lows often coincide with narrative shocks that traders later identify as the cause, referencing back to Luna as an example of one of those events, and that we need to see the RSI reaching oversold conditions, which he says has not happened yet, and the next move could take Dogecoin down to 5 cents. My bottom is still 6.7. VP's down at 5 on a capitulation. We will be watching that. Bitcoin Census on his Doge analysis, he's still using this fractal from 2021, just pasting it on where we are right now, thinking that we're going to be going up to $5 or $6. And although it would be great to be able to see Doge do that, I don't think we're going to see that kind of acceleration, that kind of percentage gain this next bull market. But we talk about that later. We will get there. Right now, he is predicting a spike during late spring, early summer. There could be some catalyst there for Doge to do that and then settle back down through the summer and into the fall. That kind of pattern is probably something that is going to happen. And this was the chart that I was going to show on the Monday live stream, and I didn't get to it. I was caught up in everything else. But I took his previous chart where he had this big run up. He was showing $4.50, and he had it right here in the beginning of 2026. I've pulled that out, and I've created this gap. That gap right there is the unknown of how Dogecoin is going to trade here. Are we going to see a dip down to 6 cents or even 5 like VP calls? Or, like I thought we'd have a little relief rally, then a drop, and then accumulation through the summer and into the fall. And then we'll talk about that at some other time. He also says cycle 1 ended with this big run up in 2017. Cycle 2 had this big run up in 2021. Cycle 3, we had the run right here, and it was the end of 2024 when Dogecoin went to 48 cents. Yes, it did not eclipse the 2021 high of 73 cents. We talked about that in detail as well during my live stream on Monday in the 4-year cycles and what I believe about that. So 48 cents was the high this cycle, Dogecoin front running Bitcoin, and the next run will come in the next cycle. We are still in the bear now. So up or down, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Give the video a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate the support. We'll see you next time.